Right now is the hardest I've ever seen the illustration industry, for everyone involved, but particularly for beginners. This comment I got on a video a couple of weeks ago speaks volumes, and no shade on this person because they're not wrong. You can read it yourself if you want, but basically Felix is saying, unless you're already established in the industry, it is incredibly hard to get in. Many clients are already adopting some form of AI into their workflows. The market for illustration is shrinking, and a lot of illustrators and other creatives are having to turn to other sources of income. He specifically mentions courses. I've been very honest with you on this channel about different aspects of the industry because I want you to succeed, and to do that you need information that can help you grow in your career. But I found myself holding back on something for a while now, and it's like a dark cloud hanging over my head. By not talking to you about this subject, I'm doing you a disservice. And if I'm not being real with you, then what's the point? It's no secret that the industry is going through a hard time. Part of the reason I haven't talked about it is because I don't really want to admit it to myself. I'm not an artist, but I'm just as invested in this industry as you are. It's my work, it's my hobby, it's something I love. I am here to support you in your illustration career, and part of that responsibility is for me to offer you a realistic point of view on how I think things will look in the coming years. So I'm going to lay it all out for you here as I see it, what the future of the industry looks like, and what it's really going to take to be a professional illustrator in the next 5 or 10 years. And even though there's a healthy dose of doom and gloom in the first half of this video, I've got some practical steps you can take at the end. Clients are spending less on illustration because, as I've said before, illustration is a luxury for our clients. Most of them don't need it to run their businesses. And I should say, we're certainly not alone in feeling the pressure from these factors. All kinds of creatives are having a hard time right now. Less money being spent and less projects overall means more competition for the jobs that are available. More established illustrators are getting less work, so they are forced to consider taking on lower paying projects to pay their bills. That means clients can get more experienced illustrators for less money. If a client had a lower budget in the past, they were more likely to hire newer illustrators for projects because they charge less, and that's totally normal. But if they can get a better or more experienced illustrator now, they're not going to hire beginners as much. And some clients who don't have the budget for creative work or want to cut costs will simply choose to use AI. In the past, they would have assigned their very limited budgets to newer creatives and not paid them very well, but at least those beginners could build up their portfolios and get some experience. A lot of those entry-level illustration jobs are going to disappear. It's going to be harder than ever for new illustrators to get their foot in the door and to find those first projects and get some real-world experience. The illustrators who can get in on the action and make a real living from their creative work are either going to be the ones who are already established with an existing network of clients. Even that isn't going to be easy to maintain. Or it's going to be the ones who have developed a strong personal brand where clients are drawn to them because they've made themselves a desirable partner beyond just the style of their work. Or it'll be artists who are just undeniably skilled and have something really unique and impressive to offer. So that means if you haven't established yourself yet and you don't have any existing clients, it's going to be really hard for you to get your foot in the door. It's never been easy, but it's on another level now. If you haven't got any kind of personal brand that people can relate to, where they care about you as a person and not just your work, you'll struggle to make an impact. And if your work simply isn't good enough yet, or unique or memorable, there's absolutely no reason for a client to choose you. If you're a student or a new graduate or otherwise in the beginner category, you have a hard road ahead if you're serious about making illustration into a career. But there are plenty of other great careers that are hard to get into. Hard doesn't mean impossible. Not everybody can make it as an artist or a writer or a musician. That's been true forever. It's only ever been a small percentage of creatives who can break through. But the opportunities for beginners are harder to come by now. There are still going to be a lot of clients that want to hire human illustrators. Absolutely there are, I know that. And plenty of art directors won't want to use AI-generated imagery. But they might end up being a minority. Someone asked me the other week if I would care if I went to see a movie and a lot of the visual effects were created by AI rather than a skilled VFX team. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't. It probably wouldn't even cross my mind. I could be watching the latest Marvel film and think, that's cool, and not give a thought to the skilled effects people that no longer have a job. Now I will, after sitting with that question for a while. I think about it in illustration terms more deeply because I'm in that world. But for the 99% of the population who don't know anything about the illustration industry, do you think they'll give us a second thought, or will they look at an AI-generated image and think, that's cool? So where does that leave us? The real question is, do you want it enough to fight for it? And by fight for it, I don't mean jumping on the latest AI trend like the starter pack no AI hashtag. That is nothing. It's not going to pay your rent. That is you being led by an AI trend. Do you think people are going to hire you because you stand up to AI on social media? It's a waste of time. If you want to be a professional illustrator, you've got to fight like your livelihood depends on it, which it does. Practice your skills to a level of mastery that you didn't think you were capable of. Work on some crappy jobs just to get some real-world experience without any ego or complaining. Invest time and energy into building your personal brand so people care about you and your ideas, not just your illustration style. And work on your dream far harder and for longer than should be necessary so you can break through. So if you're still here, still listening, then I think you've got something a lot of other people don't. You care enough to keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's unfair and demoralizing, and that matters. But let's talk about what you can actually do next, because this isn't the end of illustration, but it's probably the end of doing things the easy way. Here are 3 things I think every illustrator needs to focus on if they want to survive and build their career in this new chapter of the industry. Make your work unforgettable. Your style is part of that, and your technical skill is part of that, but they're not everything. You need to bring ideas. You need good taste, clarity in what you're communicating, and confidence in your vision. You need to be able to solve problems for your clients. Clients need to see your work and immediately think, we want them. These might seem like vague generalizations, but they are things that you can practice and get good at. Here's some ideas. Pick something you want to explore deeply. It could be a style, technique, or a niche, something that you want to master. Make 5 to 10 projects that show what you'd love to be hired for. These are going to be self-initiated briefs, that's fine, but design them with a purpose. Think about what clients want from these kinds of projects. Study successful illustrators you admire, not to copy their style, but to reverse engineer their decisions. What makes their work so effective? And see if you can figure out how they got so popular in the first place. Get feedback, not just friends, other artists, mentors, industry professionals, even strangers online. Find out what's working and what isn't. And if you're at the start of your career and you don't have a style yet, and you're still working on your technical skills, those are your priorities. Study, practice, and get better. Do it on purpose and take it seriously. Make yourself visible. Posting your work online once a week isn't visibility. It's not enough to simply be present online. You have to be noticed. That means showing up in ways that gets your work in front of the right people regularly and with intention behind it. I've doubled my Instagram followers over the last 6 weeks just to prove I could do it, and I've experimented a lot in that time to find out what works. It's not just about quantity, though that does definitely help. It's about posting with a purpose, talking about what you do, helping people out with useful ideas, sharing a bit about your life and your process, giving people a reason to care, basically. Share your opinions about things online. Respond to other people and add your point of view to the conversation so they get to know who you are and they remember who you are. And don't be afraid to take some risks and look a bit silly. I certainly don't. I came across an illustrator on Instagram recently. I'll link to her down below. She's relatively new to the industry, but already she's positioning herself as an inspiring, motivational voice on subjects that creatives care about. And her audience is growing so fast. She doesn't have decades of experience, but she's offering her ideas and sharing what she's learned and becoming someone I want to follow, and other creatives and clients will too. That's the goal, not just to be seen and scrolled past, but to be remembered. You might not want to make videos, and that's fine. There are plenty of other ways to stand out, but you do have to show up consistently, because clients don't always hire the best illustrator. They hire the one they remember and the ones who are easy to find. If you're not getting hired, there are all sorts of things you could blame it on. AI, the economy, the algorithm, but most of the time it comes down to this. Either your work isn't good enough yet, or people don't know you exist. So your to-do list is simple. Get better at what you do, that's your creative skills, and get your work in front of the right people, that's your marketing skills. If you want illustration to be a serious business for you, you've got to treat it like a serious business. The industry is full of talented people who don't follow through. So there's your opportunity. be the one who does follow through. Show up consistently, be reliable, be someone people want to hire again and again and want to watch and engage with online. None of this guarantees you'll make it, but doing none of it guarantees that you won't. So stop worrying about whether it's fair. It's not, but you're here anyway. You're still trying. That already puts you ahead of 90% of the people who say that they want this career. If you're in it for the long haul and you're willing to do what's required, leave a comment below that says, I'm in. There's no secret checklist, no giveaway. I just want to know, and I want you to say it publicly. I said earlier that illustration is on hard mode, and I meant it, but that doesn't mean it's game over. It just means you have to play smarter, train harder, level up, and grind for longer than most people are willing to. If you can do that, if you can keep learning, improving, and putting yourself out there, you can build a career in this industry. Not by luck, not by going viral, but by being too good to ignore. And that's what I want for you. I'm going to carry on making content to help you build your illustration career just like normal, and there's a playlist here that you might enjoy, but this video needed to be said. Now, let's get back to work.